Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He is leading the confirmation hearings for Judge Brett Kavanaugh, and Senator Grassley joins us now from Washington. Good morning, Senator. Boy, you had your hands full yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit different than other committee meetings I've chaired, and a lot different than Gorsuch, as an example.
Yes, well, absolutely. Well, look, I know today we'll get much more down to questions of substance as the senators get to ask specific questions about how Judge Kavanaugh may rule and his temperament. So let me ask you specifically on the question of abortion rights. Do you believe that Judge Kavanaugh would restore the authority of states to regulate early-term abortions?
I think that when he's asked that question, and in fact, I even advised him yesterday that he should go by the Ginsburg rule that every nominee to the Supreme Court since then, when she was asked specific questions about something that comes before the court, she would say there's not going to be any hints, any predictions, nothing, because it isn't right for a candidate for the Supreme Court to state what their views might be, because then it would be questionable about whether you're using your own personal views or basing it on the Constitution or the law. And I think you're going to see that answer from him. And then to answer your question that you just asked me, I would expect him to give that answer.
Okay, got it. Well, as you know, some believe there is no constitutional right to abortion. So the question becomes, with Roe versus Wade, why shouldn't this be a legitimate form of questioning for him to answer his views, his legal views on that question?
Well, yeah, he will answer very thoroughly, I think, but it's going to be based upon the fact that he doesn't know the specific facts of the case. He doesn't know the specific law that might be before us, because right now, 50 states can have 50 different approaches to abortion, still within Roe v. Wade, that he may have to make a ruling on.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask you a question about these documents. You say it's a process matter. You say that the Democrats haven't questioned his qualifications, but the documents are about a period that Brett Kavanaugh worked in politics. One of the questions in the courts is how much politics gets involved in law. So when Elena Kagan was up before the committee, everybody wanted to know what she did during her time as politics, and Kavanaugh has said that period is in many ways the most instructive. So if that period is instructive to understanding his jurisprudence, why aren't Democrats right to want more time to look into documents from that period or to see documents that haven't been turned over?
I think that what Kavanaugh was saying, it's very instructive to him to be a judge, to know what goes on in the executive branch of government. And he surely knew what went on in the executive branch of government, because he had papers from every cabinet member and every intelligence agency and all that stuff. He had to decide what went to the president or not to the president. So I interpret his statement as meaning that he got very well educated in the processes of the executive branch, so that makes him a better judge to make decisions on the law or the cases that apply to the executive branch and presidential power.
That's your reading of it, but pardon me, why shouldn't Democrats get a chance to examine that thinking based on the actual record and not just having to guess about it?
Yeah, because it's irrelevant to his being a judge. And not only that, but remember what Schumer and Leahy have said in the past, that the best judge of whether a candidate should be on the Supreme Court or not is where the cases they've already heard in lower courts. And this person has 307 cases, 10 or 11,000 pages that people can go by. That's the best judgment that Leahy and Schumer said for knowing whether somebody should be on the Supreme Court. If that's a rule that you would use for Sotomayor, why wouldn't you use that same rule for Kavanaugh?
Well, you got a lot of use out of your gavel yesterday, Senator. And how do you intend to keep the calm today? And what was your takeaway from yesterday? You know, after Senator McCain's funeral, there was a lot of calls for bipartisanship, and that seemed to last a very short time yesterday, looking at what we saw in your hearing room yesterday.
Well, I made this statement yesterday that I think is more true of what goes on in the United States Senate, and there's more bipartisanship than what people see. We're very different on this judgeship, or judges generally. Republican Democrats differences. But in the 3.5 years that I've been chairman of the committee, every bill that has come out of the Judiciary Committee has had bipartisan support. That speaks more about how we work in a collegial way than what you're seeing on television.
Senator, President Trump has called Jeff Sessions, said this guy is mentally retarded. He's a dumb Southerner, according to Bob Woodward's new book. Would you support President Trump firing his attorney general?
That's President Trump's decision to make, and I'll only be involved in that is if he appoints a new person.
All right. Thank you, Senator.
Okay, Senator Grassley.
All right, Senator Grassley, thank you for being with us.